As you might have guessed from our previous discussion of compiling versus running, compilation errors are those that occur when compiling our code in the first place. Not every programming language has compilation, and so not every language has compilation errors. Those languages that don't require compilation, like Python and JavaScript, can sometimes have tools that simulate this process, letting us know before we run our code if there are obvious errors present within it. For an error to be a compilation error, it has to be a problem inherent within the code. In other words, it has to be an error we can identify just by looking at the code, not an error that only exists in the context of how the code is run. So, for example, imagine some code who deletes all the files in a folder. If you try to run it on an empty folder, it might give an error. But that error wasn't a problem with the code itself. It only arose when the code was run. Now, errors can differ significantly from language to language, but there are some common ones. First, there are syntax errors. You've written code that just doesn't make sense in the current programming language. This is kind of like a grammatical error in an essay. Second, there are name errors. This is when you've written some code that tries to use something that doesn't exist. For example, imagine I asked you, give her the book, but I never specified who her is. The command doesn't make sense because I'm including a person that doesn't seem to exist. Third, there are type errors. Let's say you've written some code that tries to do something that doesn't make sense, like requesting the smell of true or the color of the number 5. Note that depending on the language, some of these might turn up as runtime errors instead. For example, some languages don't specify types within the code. For them, it wasn't until runtime that we realized we're requesting the color of the number 5, not the color of a car. Generally, when the error occurs is a lesser concern than why it occurs and how to solve it. So don't worry too much about the difference between compile time and runtime errors for now.